Hello and welcome to the Property Talk, where we get to discuss, break down issues that make up the industry, that shape the future of our real estate industry. We are right here at V Gallery, where we meet luxury at first sight. And the finest furniture all the way from Italy. Come to industrial area, you'll have that encounter and interaction. We're also trying to keep tabs with the development at the Entebbe airport to see how far it's gone, and we're trying to get through the protocols to just get some shots and filmings for what is happening at the airport presently and how the entire picture is unfolding, because at the property show, infrastructure growth and development is part of our key agenda to ensure that you are kept knowledgeable of what's happening. Joining me on the set today is no stranger to the property show, Michael Mwesgwa. Mr. It's been a long time and good to have you on the set.
Pleasure is all mine.
I should say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, I should say as well.
Armed with a banking industry experience of how many years?
14 years.
14 years.
Oh, yes.
What was that like?
Incredible, a lot of learning, but above all, great networks, and also the opportunity to serve clients and help the home ownership dream come to life.
And Michael currently serves with a unique brand that's called Milnam Limited, and you are the
Chief Business Officer.
Chief Business Officer. That's CBO.
Yes.
That's a new corporate title. Amazing, interesting. I should take that on. CBO. Anyway, CBO Milnam Limited. Now, given your, before we go any further, given your background experience with mortgages and home loans, I mean, Mike, I would honestly say that of all the brains I've ever spoken to concerning the mortgage space and home loans, you are one of the brilliant minds that we have here. But the picture of Milnam, and does this mean you've totally abandoned the idea of the industry of home loans and mortgages totally, or how do they how do they function? Where is the synchronization?
Very good question. And first things first, I just want to commend you for, first of all, helping unlock the dream of Milnam, because you're one of the strategic alliance partners that believed in us. So we're not abandoning home loans. In fact, we have been encouraged by the fact that in the working experience I had in the banking, one thing came out, is that there was need to actually increase earning power of client, because whether or not you want to buy a property by cash, whether or not you're getting a mortgage to acquire that property, the one thing that stood out is that your earning power, be it you are employed, be it you are entrepreneur, you have to actually have earning power. And key to that was the ability for you to have the right mindset, the right skill set around, first of all, selling. And so our passion for skilling salespeople is one component that we do for the people, but then also helping them get optimal financial and property investments. That's where the home loans come in, where we provide intermediary services for those that want to acquire properties, but by and large also working with property and financial service providers to make sure that they attain growth by having the right client acquisition model, but also more importantly, helping them have a business development plan, a science to winning, and not just praying and praying about it. So that's what we do.
What has your experience been with the journey through where COVID attacked us from, and in between the journey of recovery, and as far as the real estate market and the commercial sense of things is concerned? What has been your experience? What have you observed? And that will lead to my next question on what are some of those factors that could escalate the recovery from the COVID effects? The
COVID journey, I will actually break it down in three parts: the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good is, one, we saw the resilience of the mindset of man in terms of us being able to adapt, because there was a period where we did not know what COVID was all about, where we had to adjust about learning to cope up with COVID, we had to work during COVID, and now we're seeing a more like post-recovery COVID period. And then we saw things like working from home come to place. It had never occurred in our mind that you have to abandon waking up 8 to 5, you go into office. Things like using MS Teams had to happen, and what that meant, the value of the home then had to go up, not just being a place of residence. We saw changes in the mindset of the home, not just being a place to reside, but rather an opportunity for you to also have some office space.
Yes.
In the real estate space, we had to rethink how we were actually, for example, selling property, using digital channels, so to speak. But also, more importantly, some sectors were hurt, and that was the bad side about it, where we saw the hospitality industry take a nosedive, where we saw our banks being now very skeptical around who to give money, depending on the sector that you're playing in. And then, the most important thing is that the ugly part came to the fact that now, home ownership no longer became an issue of maybe or maybe not, but a question of priority.
Yes.
And then for me, which then leads to then how do we recover? And then also more important, we also go to learn that it's important that even us who are in business or who are running business entities, that's important for you to have a resilience, a recovery plan. You had some businesses had to pivot, so to speak, for you to be in position to put food on the table. So we've learned, and I think for me, we now have to build back up.
So when we talk about recovery here now, we're looking at, in Uganda, our setup in terms of real estate, you have the affordable housing, low-cost housing, which is a conversation we usually never have. Then you have the luxury housing. But the key question here is on access to home ownership. Again, like you said, it's no longer necessarily a debate of should I not own a home, as we all know that the Millennium Development Goals fully cover that the basic needs of man being food, shelter, and clothing. But the middle one, which is shelter, still has big challenges around it. And it's more painful right now with your middle class section or cluster of individuals that is growing hugely, growing in terms of the potential numbers, but not necessarily growing in the actual intrinsic value of the equity or net worth of these middle income or middle class that we're talking about. How does someone make the dream come to reality to actually own their first home despite the tough times that we're in?
So this very good scenario that you put forth. Allow me just bring it forward. I come from Shema.
Please.
And when I was fascinated by the numbers in Shema, so the place where I come from, home ownership is up north of 90%. People who actually own homes.
Wow.
Mortgage uptake in Shema is, I think, less than 5%, if any.
Wow.
But guess what? These people have homes. So when you look at the total number of mortgages, for example, as a function of home owners, it's still low. So what does that mean? That there's an ability for people to actually own properties or homes if there's planning to it. Look at the primary school teacher, secondary school teacher, who basically earns less than $1 million shillings. How have they done that? One, it comes down to planning and commitment. How do you then have the earning power to acquire a plot? Then how is it that you'll be in position to incrementally finance, either using your own savings or financing of sorts? It could be through circles, it could be through home ownership associations, it could be through the bank, it could be through any other means. As long as you have a plan and are committed to it, we've seen actually people get homes. And some people actually even go the extra mile of taking a decade to own a home, but they actually then manifest it and happens. So I think the most important thing here is have a plan, commit to it. It's important for you to get to know that how, because even the Bible says, how are you going to start building a property if you don't know and have a plan to it? So for me, this then fascinates me is how then can we enable home ownership without necessarily thinking through the limitation of earning power, but rather through the availability of the right infrastructure, the right mindset, the right opportunity to earn, thus making it a possibility and a dream for people to actually own property and homes, so to speak.
What's your take on the new taxes? We've seen quite a number of taxes come up, the rental income taxes. We've seen URA come up with a policy that anybody purchasing land 10 million and above must have a TIN number. There must be a tax implication on that. Even as we talk about home ownership, these are factors that are coming in and you're thinking, okay, yes, URA's coffers get to grow more. But what does that do for the industry in itself? What's your quick take on that?
For every change, there has to come with a level of adaptability. And I think for me, even when the initiative is a good one that has to then increase the tax base and hence tax revenue, it's important that sensitization is done so that people then get to understand the modus operandi on how the tax is levied, but more importantly, on what it then means so that the net consumer can see the net benefit of whatever tax they're paying and hence not necessarily abate it, but at least have in position to be in position to participate. So I think for me the onus is on players like me and you, in collaboration with you, of course, to see to it that great sensitization is done to that effect.
Finally, as we get to close, Millennium as a brand, what contribution are you playing when we look at the GDP of this country, when we look at the real estate sector, when the economy comes to play? What difference is your brand making?
You'll of course have to know that when you look at the people that are formally employed in this country, the numbers oscillate between 800,000 or 1.5, thereabout. I think for us to boost home ownership, we need to see these students that are coming from university be in position to get the right jobs. And how do they do that? They have to acquire the right skills. They have to be in position to have the ability to at least be entrepreneurial, hence increase their earning power. As a business development company, we're taking it upon ourselves to make sure that that happens. Secondly speaking, it's also very important that even when you look at the banks, for example, the skill set within the bank has the ability to articulate, to inform, to educate customers on how best regardless of their level of income, they can be in position to manifest that dream of ownership.
Yeah.
We've done some very good work starting with housing finance in that regard.
Yeah.
And then also be in position to see that these service providers of property or financial services have the right mechanism to attract the right customer. And even us, we also privileged, thanks to Inspiration, we'll be putting up our own project in Chanja. Looking forward to that. But also want to continue partnering with the property show in it that we make the home ownership dream come to life.
I appreciate.
So we're looking forward.
I appreciate. And it's Michael Mwesigwa, of course, one of the great friends here at the Property Show. For long, we knew him indeed as an expert in the home loans and mortgages across the banking sector. So he comes into the private sector space armed with quite a lot of experience in terms of providing and granting access to solutions, multiple solutions, as he's mentioned. It's the Property Talk, where we continue to break down issues that affect the industry, propel our economy forward, and that's our core job right here at V Gallery.